Hello and good morning, everyone! Welcome to the Overwatch League qualifiers for the Spring Stage. You can see we're live at the WDG Esports studio in Seoul. Hey, that's us. Wish we looked that good, though. We got 2 matches today, though. It's gonna be a banger.
Yeah, well, we can pretend. We'll do a dub version, Lemon. Do you prefer your Owlcast subbed or dubbed?
I wish I just had the suit on like they do. I just gotta put my sweater on. I'm cozy, though.
2 a.m. suit meta. That's when you're really giving it your all. We do have some bangers today, including one that's going to be live in our WDG Esports studio in Seoul, Korea. Remember, we've got plenty of stuff happening in Seoul this year. Our mid-season man is also going to be taking place in South Korea. In Gintex, I believe. I'm not sure if that's a neighborhood in Seoul or if it's a separate city. I know there's a big conglomeration of cities around there, like Incheon. So I'm not all up on the South Korean like civic geography, but I will get there by the end of this year. You will be quizzed
at the end of the show.
there will
so
be
get
a
to
quiz.
Man,
That's a former teacher. She knows how to put those together.
I will fail you automatically because I will do that. East has started off shaky. I mean, let's start with the elephant in the room. Dallas Fuel moving to the APAC side of things, not getting the start that they want. They lost 3-0 to Guangzhou, then Hangzhou, 3-0 Shanghai. So it was kind of this explosive statement for day one. And then on the next week, then you had the Seoul versus Seoul, which that went to a 5-er. That was probably the most exciting match we've had so far.
Yeah, but the Seoul Bowl went all the way, and it did mean that the other casters did have to deal with a lot of profit versus prophet, which is why we're going to be leaning into calling prophet with an EPH, which is, I believe, what we've collectively decided to take a stand on as casters, because Seoul decided to sign 2 DPS with the same name. Like, they're not even on different roles, Lemon. It's honestly, it's a personal attack, really.
Yeah. How could they? And then Dallas had their second match, and you thought, okay, was it the difference of play styles? Was it just tougher teams on the eastern side of things? They did take a map against the Hangzhou Spark, who were looking like, at least touted as the best team in the East, according to everyone's power rankings. Then Inferno 3-0 Shanghai just recently. So we are on week 2, but our 3rd day of East matches, I believe. It's been a whole bunch of days going on. But we got 2 matches today. It'll be fun. It'll be hopefully not quick. I hope it'll be close. But this is all to give some seeding to our OWL teams heading to knockouts.
Yeah, heading over to knockouts. We've already finished our qualification for contenders teams. We went from open division to contenders and then over to our Spring Stage Opens. Those broadcasts were happening on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday last week, and Monday, Tuesday this week, which is why you might have missed them if you happen to be doing things like going to school or going to work instead. But there are plenty of excellent VODs I can highly recommend. No one's surprised that O2 Blast came out as a front row, well, our #1 competitor out of that bracket, but it was split in 2. So O2 Blast didn't actually face our 2nd place team. Poker Face, another Korean team coming out of Korean contenders, who managed to go undefeated in their own bracket as well after struggling to qualify from open division. Sometimes Lemon Time can heal all wounds, and we're hoping that it'll heal up a couple of Dallas Fuel's recent wounds as well, because these are our East teams, and as you said, Dallas Fuel, they're having a rough start.
Well, there's also stronger starts looking at Hangzhou, Guangzhou. We got 2 Souls, no Chengdu. It's a different season, a different look. And you pointed out our contenders teams. And yeah, the knockouts will have contenders versus Overwatch League. I hope you all know that by now. But there's so many regions that competed in those open qualifiers, and APAC got cut in half. We just don't have that many APAC teams. Australia didn't make it through. Korea dominated, but of course APAC was a lot closer than we expected. Here's your schedule of how today will roll down. Will we see Fuel get more than 1 map win? Will Seoul go 2-1? And then we have Seoul versus Guangzhou as our last match of the day.
Yeah, Seoul versus Guangzhou is going to be really interesting, as of course Guangzhou looks dominant in their match against the Dallas Fuel. I think it wasn't just Dallas Fuel losing, it was Guangzhou Charge winning to a certain degree. Choice Air 1 is looking as strong as ever, but this really does feel like a year where Guangzhou Charge might not trip over their untied shoelaces, which has been the case for a while since their last tournament win, which I believe was in 2020 in one of the early tournaments that was split up. Maybe the Summer Showdown there. That was a Sigma meta where Krong could dominate. Krong's not on that roster anymore. But to focus in on Dallas Fuel versus Seoul Inferno, both of these teams are located in the local area for the WDG Esports studio. So both of them are going to be in studio and ready to show off in front of the fans. And to be honest, that's pretty important for Seoul Inferno as a newer brand coming into the league, rebranded, of course, from the Philadelphia Fusion with their transplantation to the East and much bigger integration into a T1 brand that has been a strong legacy brand across all of esports. It's been important for Seoul to connect with their local audience.
Dallas Fuel with the walkout. WDG. Yeah, I was going to say, if you hear some noises in the background, we got the crowd mics live from WDG Studios. Dallas Fuel looking for more than just one map win. A roster you may recognize, of course. We got Sparkle Edison on DPS. Recognize that tall one as Edison. Didn't change his haircut either. Hanbin. Okay, we got the Doomfist punch from Hanbin. Everyone falls to the ground. And MCD and Bliss on support.
Yeah, MCD and Bliss, definitely the newbies coming into this roster. We know that Hanbin, Sparkle, and Edison was part of the core that won Overwatch League last year. Chio and Fielder were picked up as a duo by the Atlanta Reign, who are really looking to level up into a championship contending roster this year. Seoul Inferno on the other side coming on out. Mag, this could be a big redemptive arc for him. It's been an ignominious run thus far in Overwatch League, but this could be where it all turns around for the main tank player.
What I'm excited about for Seoul, Zest and MN3. You recognize a lot of these players from the Philadelphia Fusion. Oh, the Earth Shatter! Mag got him on the ground. Skewed is like, can I go to bed now? But,
do you mind if I just stay down here? Is that okay?
Can I just have a nap? I like the rollouts on stage from both our teams. The last time we had a match at the WDG Studios was Seoul versus Seoul. That went all the way to 5. We said that was the most exciting match of the day. Right, I guess we got Queens versus Demons, but maybe to say that when it comes to Rush, Dallas Fuel do like their Junker Queen.
They do like their Junker Queen. Dallas Fuel saw a couple of teams playing Junker and like, hold up, we're pretty good at this. Of course, Dallas Fuel were fairly dominant in the Jokes meta back in our third stage of 2022. Some people remember it fondly, some people less so. Seoul Inferno, though, they're going to have to contend with the Junker Queen, and it can be a little bit harder to try and deal with. Hangzhou Spark yesterday, they decided that their best way to try and deal with the Junker Queen was to try and out-brawl it using the Reinhardt, but the Junker Queen doesn't play as brawly as a Rein because it's often accompanied by far more flank-centric DPS, which, like for Sombra, as you can see from the EMP and a little still here from our match preview.
Yeah, the Junker Queen versus Reinhardt's matchup we've seen in the qualifiers, where the Reinhardt will usually hold the Earth Shatter just for the Queen. In case she goes for a rampage, you can kind of stop her halfway until she hits your back line. Sparkle playing mostly Tracer this season, and, you know, some Genji sprinkled on in there, but Edison primarily on the Sombra, and I think that fits their style well. So it looks like we'll be heading into the match shortly. Boys in blue versus the boys in red. Dallas Fuel looking for more than just a map win, a series win, but against a tough opponent of the 4th seed of the Seoul Inferno, who have already set ablaze this league. And let's take a look at the hype video for the Dallas Fuel.
Ungodly connection there with the rampage, and Harpin, he's come up with the goods again. And Fielder goes down. It's going to be Sal Barry on for 4. Michael's down. Went 3. And Dallas Fuel, Overwatch League champions.
Set the league alight, set a soul aflame, but Lemon, can they set themselves on the road to their first series victory here in our 2023 season? It's not been a glorious step down from the throne that they captured in 2022. As a quick look into the roster straight away again. Once again, I'm drawing attention over to this support line. The lesser proven members of the Dallas Fuel. Hanbin, Edison, and Sparkle obviously were there in the hype video, lifting the trophy. MCD's had a run in Overwatch League across multiple teams that hasn't been the most powerful, but now with these powerhouse tank and DPS players, this is MCD's chance to prove themselves. And the same could be said of Bliss, who's come over from a dominant run on O2 Blast, who were a legendary team who rarely ever dropped a series.
The Fuel fans, I don't know what that says. I don't read Korean, but I see a crying bear. And I know the Dallas Fuel fans want to go back to that championship prime that they were known for. But on the other side is the Seoul Dynasty players from the Philadelphia Fusion, loving their dive. They don't play as much Sombra as Dallas does. MN3 is the star, I think, on this team. Plays a lot of Hanzo and Ashe, the occasional Sombra, but a lot of double flanker from this team using the dive of Mag. A lot of Winston from him too. This will be exciting to see how this match goes. And even interestingly, Seoul, Mag, Orisa. One of the few teams that have incorporated that, I believe, on Nepal Sanctum. Got some fresh haircuts, even matching the jersey. But let's take a look at the hype video for the Seoul Inferno.
Volume pumped, Jen. That was an insight there into MN3's breakout game in the Overwatch League there on New Quintra. I believe it was against the Seoul Dynasty. This is when MN3 really demanded the world pay attention to this hit scan prodigy. We've known for a while that MN3 was a bit of a Himothy. He was that guy when it came to the hit scan, playing on Element Mystic for a while. And you know the Element Mystic scouting processes were some of the best in the world. And Skewed, of course, was known for a while as probably the best Brigitte in the league, playing with the LA Gladiators, but we always knew that Skewed was secretly the flex support. He was living in Shu's shadow. He was forced to toil in the mines of Brigitte, when really he wanted to break free and be the honor he knew that he could be, and this is his chance over on the Seoul Inferno. Is that a turtle holding up a sign?
I know, I'm trying to inquire about this turtle lore.
Yo, what's the turtle lore, bro?
Figure out the memes behind that.
Is that Master Uplay?
Also, you know, speaking of the Dallas Fuel, they, you know, Hanbin had the Doomfist rollout on stage, punching out his team, hoping to do the same against the Seoul Infernal. I think we've seen some Doomfist from Hanbin, at least on Nepal Village, but didn't work out. They changed mid-round, and that's what I like about the Dallas Fuel. They're good at recognizing their mistakes, but a matchup you gotta watch out for, the battle of flex DPS between Sparkle and Zest.
Yeah, these are the Tracer stats coming on in for these players. It's worth noting, I'm just going to contextualize these stats a touch. Zest's stats were very good yesterday, but he was against the Shanghai Dragons, which is where you can try and run a numbers game, you know? You can try and really minimize how many deaths you're taking, get a bunch of damage there. It was actually a huge amount of tank focus yesterday, blowing up Fleta as quickly as possible. Zest was bullying Fleta, making sure that he could not get a singular dive off. So while the stats for Zest are impressive, I think Sparkles have been generated in a slightly more challenging environment when having to go up against both Choice A1 and Leave.
First map, Oasis, best of 5 in case you're new here. Thinking back on Oasis Seoul, when they faced Seoul, I believe, in the game 5. The last map was Oasis, went to round 3. And City Center was the only round that Mag and friends ended up winning. Shambali will be exciting too. We saw MN3 on the Bastion on the attacking side of things. I really like the innovation that comes from the Infernal.
Yeah, and Infernal, like you said, innovating with touch of Bastion, touch of Orisa. This definitely seems a team that is willing to play something a little bit outside of a box, whereas Dallas Fuel, they love to hone in on one comp and get really, really good at it. That's why they've been leaning into this Hanbin Junker Queen which seems to have been their bread and butter, playing like this pseudo brawl where you try and force your opponents into close quarters, and generally you'll hope that Mag, as a Winston preferer, a Winston enjoyer, some might say, would be rolling out on that hero by default, which is where Jungle Queen's at her best, can really mess with the disengagements of a Winston by hitting a well-placed knife.
They said, good job, Black Day. You formed a sentence.
Thanks.
Clap, clap,
Thank
clap.
you, audience.
All right, here it is. Dallas Fuel with the Junker Queen rush we know and love, with the Lucio to speed him right to the high ground. On the other side, Seoul, usual dive. They never really stray away from this. Lacking the speed, though, it'll all be about packing those flankers, as Seoul actually head back after scouting to change up the strat.
All right, Seoul Inferno. They have done a little bit of their homework here. Watched how Hangzhou managed to deal with this comp previously, and this is exactly what Gushui did to try and waylay the efforts of Hanbin, who can't really jump down into this roster because the frontline damage of Cassidy and Amei is so much greater.
How does Seoul Inferno engage this? Fuel can now take angles around them. Sparkle putting that harassment into Mag, who's dropped his armor and now in a vulnerable position. As Seoul haven't engaged on anything yet, they're sitting ducks, hoping that their terrifying presence will zone the Dallas Fuel off, which seems to be the case. Seoul Inferno have capped the point. They've spotted now Hanbin, trying to force him out so that they can wall him off, but Hanbin's not going to fall for that trick.
Now, wall back up once again for Zest. It was forced out. That's going to be the ice spot gone as well. This could be a big focusing moment here for Dallas Fuel if Edison and Sparkle can get on that target, but Mag has rescued him.
Hanbin in trouble. Seoul are done waiting, but you're trapped in here with Hanbin. 1-1 trade. Swing. Mag gets the kill, returns to the point, so Dallas Fuel don't get the flip. Almost 30% now for Seoul, able to even use the Ant Matrix from all the trickle damage that Dallas Fuel had at the initial part of this fight. And that was enough to get a few kills onto Dallas and for Seoul to keep the point.
MCD not willing to do the TP over to Hanbin, knowing that the cleave from both the Mei Cryo Beam and the Reinhardt Hammer would be too much to survive in that. Still, it did mean there wasn't enough healing to keep Hanbin alive in this particular engagement. Rampage should be good to go soon. There's the rush.
Kitsune rush from the Dallas Fuel. They head to the high ground. They make MN3 drop to the low. Zest has the Blizzard, and then Seoul say, come at me, bro. I got this one right for you. Dallas Fuel, they engage with the EMP, but it hits everyone from Seoul as they were waiting for the moment to strike with Blizzard. Fuel only kill one, though. Maybe two with the EMP. Seoul disengage and hope to maybe draw this fight in a different location, but now missing skewed. This is not a Blizzard opportunity anymore.
Yeah, playing to maintain those lives, making sure that Sparkle can't get as many dash resets as he would otherwise like, is a valid strat from Seoul Inferno. Going to be coming back in here with nearly 5 ultimates. This is going to require near perfect barrier from Bliss to survive, because you can't do anything to try and shut down this Blizzard.
And then 3, Deadeye, Rampage from behind, hits the ball! Seoul counteract with the barrier, trying to lock down Hanbin. They throw the Blizzard in his face. Dallas Fuel try to back up Hanbin from behind. Seoul up by 1, don't have skewed, not a lot of healing, but Seoul, they got a lot of damage, and that's what matters. MCD stalling things out to 38, and Seoul back on the point.
Maybe a slightly pranking moment there from Hanbin to get the 5-man Rampage, yes, but into a Deadeye so that Sparkle peeks in to try and deal with this. And, well, it's an instant kill onto who you really want to be alive to try and take advantage of that close-range damage and get on top of vulnerable members like Cassidy. MCD now has moved over onto the Brigitte. Less direct healing going to be available for Hanbin here, and he's going to need to hit a big Carnage for that self-heal from the bleed.
Dallas Fuel putting all their eggs in the Sparkle basket, but you rely on him because he clutches up. He sets his eyes on the high ground. Soul clumping up, shatter onto Hanbin. Sparkle waiting for his moment to strike, still hasn't bladed yet. It's last fight, he does so with no HP. 99% for Seoul, and up by 2, 5 versus 3. No ults for Fuel unless Edison lives long enough for an EMP. It's not likely though, he's translocated out. It'll be up to MCD or Sparkle to touch MCD. Swat it away as Seoul take round 1.
Dallas Fuel, Lemon, they are consistently running into this issue, going up against the classic rush that has been around as long as we've really had back in the league. very difficult to try and pick off any of these players. MN3 is the only really easy pick, and obviously MN3 is getting a lot of protection. Scoot is mostly saving the ammo field for him. Here's a quick look at Fixer brawling out on the Lucio. Of course, Fixer was a part of the Philadelphia Fusion roster last year, which wasn't overly successful, but I wouldn't call it a failure. It did bring MN3 and Zest into the fold, which was definitely a huge pair of pickups for Seoul Inferno. They'd been grooming MN3 and Zest for a while.
What I liked about Seoul's positioning is they never let MN3 be isolated. That was something that Sparkle was trying to hunt down, never found the opportunity to actually assassinate anyone, and waited until the last second to blade, which netted nothing. Still the Rhine versus Junker Queen rush as Seoul take to the hallways, ready to speed into them. Fixa about to make the call, but now that the point unlocks first, they spot actually Sparkle isolated. Dallas Fuel need to heal back up. Seoul can create this wall, both with the Mei wall and with their main tank, to hold on to this main choke, and they got the point cap first. You see Scoot to the right hallway, very safe. Mad not so much, brings out the immortality. He's okay for now, but the pressure from Dallas Fuel as they bleed and strike. Seoul will disengage, only losing their main tank, and now more. Fuel get the point back at 15.
Yeah, Seoul Inferno there, unfortunately, misunderstanding how they win in this particular matchup. They were doing super well on Gardens of actually taking the fight to Dallas Fuel and not allowing them to simply poke out for free. But if you allow for this poke fight to happen, Edison's going to build those rails. And when Edison builds rails, we saw it happen in the grand finals last year. He hits those, Lemon. Edison now almost has the overclock, but Bliss getting picked early is real bad. Now you can't control how the engagement happens. You don't have the speed.
Double fire damage. It was the dynamite and the fire strike combined. Amp Matrix to hose down the field, and Sparkle is in no man's land. You might as well drop off the map. Now he's gonna get staggered, decided to preserve his life. I'm not sure if he's getting out. Soul maybe want to cut off his route of escape. Looks like Sparkle managed to live, and that's good. 83% to blade. That's what Fuel are banking on.
That 83% though is not going to have much behind it. It's just going to be a naked blade. However, Hunbin gets an early pick on Zest. How?
Does it again, pulling him into the knife. Edison, the ducks are all in a row, and you gotta bowl him down. Mag living for as long as he can. Go towards the point maybe. Now 41 for Soul. A quick retake for Fuel.
Maybe a slight miscom there with Mag splitting one way and Skewed splitting another. So the overall value of the immortality field was lessened when it was only for Skewed to try and take a duel with Dallas Fuel. And that was also an economical fight as well. From the Fuel, only an overclock is going to be expended. The Bob here is going to be interesting, as you might have trouble actually healing through the damage the Bob brings. And it's going to be an opening.
Okay. Maybe just Bob right on the point. Shatter from Mag. Gets Hanbin on his knees. Bliss brings him back up, and you layer the rally on top. Going for more of the stuns. Setting up Sparkle for success, and he delivers, all thanks to the speed of Bliss. Ooh. Sparkle gets his moment to shine, and Fuel in a serious lead.
The crowd enjoys seeing Sparkle on the signature pick. This is where Sparkle built a legend over years and years, as we wondered, when's Sparkle going to be old enough to play in the Overwatch League? The Element Mystic pickup that we've seen since about 2017, dominating on flankers. Now Seoul Inferno. They need to try and get value out of this window.
What a wall! The rampage blocked by the wall! What a play from Zest and Soul! They lay down the damage with the Amp Matrix. And speed to the point. They are very low, and they lost bodies being too eager for this fight, but I understand it's overtime for the Fuel, and it's up to MN3 to hit more headshots. It's already been 2. Behind him is the Lucio, not getting the bump into the hole of stall, and Soul live on.
And the thing is, after Hunbin gets stuck behind that wall, everyone else on the Dallas Fuel, the fight plan, right, was to move off the back of the rampage. They were caught in the crosshairs of many players behind that amplification matrix for knock-on effect. And it's all down to Zest with that excellent timing.
You see Edison going to coast side with a Bliss rotation, maybe looking for an off angle with the overclock, but decides to join the army at the front, but gets swung on by Soul, who own the space. And Soul being able to live on means this is going to last fight with Soul on round point.
Yeah, Sparkle getting picked early there meant that Seoul Inferno, they didn't have to pay any attention to their flanks, really. Edison just came over to the front line. There was no off-angle pressure that you'd expect from something like a Genji. Mag looking for a cheeky way to try and facilitate this Deadeye, try and potentially stop Dallas Fuel from even touching.
Oh, MN3 was looking for maybe the jump from Edison. Back cap, Sparkle waiting for his moment to assassinate. Safe on the coast side. Seoul don't really have something to engage in. They wall off Hanbin, who's ended up on the high ground. MCD's isolated. Dallas Fuel just surrounding Seoul like sharks. And they hunt, and they look for blood in the water. But Fuel have lost their tank while playing so split. Blizzard on the floor, the Shatter Tube. Fuel can't fight through this. And from a comeback from the depths of defeat, Seoul will take map 1.
It starts with a wall and it ends with a win for the Seoul Inferno. And this is one of the reasons why Zest was, for many, a dark horse MVP candidate last year. One of the MVP candidates people had a couple of head scratches over, but it's little moments like this. It's little stuff like this that got Zest picked up, you know, Lemon. And certainly showing it here against Hanbin, looking against one of the best tanks in the world and shutting down the win condition that Hanbin wanted to present to the Dallas Fuel. And Seoul Inferno, they've done their homework well. They watched what Hangzhou did to shut down Dallas Fuel's Junker, and they were like, hey, we got a pretty good team for that as well. We've got a flex DPS like Zest, who's got the brain required to be a top-tier architect on the main.
Yeah, my favorite play of the day already is Zest blocking the Junker Queen Rampage, stopping the ultimate from Hanbin. That's a difficult read and a quick reaction time from Seoul Inferno. Seoul got a little over-eager on some approaches, maybe lost a couple bodies. MN3 picked up a couple headshots, and Fuel just didn't know how to surround and pick off Seoul. We will be heading to a break, and up next, it's Blizzard World. Welcome back, everyone! Map number 2 ready to go for the Overwatch League Spring Stage Eastern Region, Fuel versus Seoul. It was an 0-2 deficit for Dallas Fuel on Oasis, getting their Junker Queen composition countered by the Reinhardt of Seoul.
Yeah, the Junker Queen composition requires exacting and perfect rotations, as well as both well-coordinated splits and not isolating yourself, which can be a delicate dance, especially with both a Lucio and a Brig. Your ability to heal through a mistaken positioning or a poor split is incredibly limited. You do not have the healing, especially if your Brig is low on repair packs. And one of the things that Seoul Inferno are exploiting is that they're kind of just pushing to a point, as you'd expect with a Brawl comp, and they're waiting for Dallas to make a mistake when it comes to splitting and then managing to exploit that, because there's so much more room for error on the Seoul Inferno comp. And all they have to do is wait for Zest or MN3 to get a massive pop-off, and if these players happen to get isolated, Fixer and Skewed, they're generally on top of it super well. Both of these supports have been playing some incredibly good reactive playstyles, knowing that, hey, we don't have to be as proactive with MN3 and Zest being able to win most of these duels just to the amount of healing output we have, and just making sure that MN3 never gets isolated in one of those 1v1s.
That's what was important, is that MN3, even on Cassidy, you sometimes take off angles, but when he was on the high ground, Sparkle never had a chance to dive him. MN3 dropped as soon as he saw Sparkle. So when you play clumped up like that in a Reinhardt comp, they just Seoul relied on Zest contact, whether with the Mei walls, which their only target, realistically, was Hanbin against against the Genji, against the hyper-mobile composition of the Dallas Fuel. Seoul had a way better understanding of their win conditions, which was kill Hanbin than everyone else. Dallas Fuel didn't have a clear win condition. Even Sparkle knew that, never really pulling the blade at the greatest moments, only having one pop-off moment, which wasn't enough. We go to Blizzard World. These are predetermined maps, of course. The only time we saw Blizzard World from these teams was Seoul during the Seoul... Oh my god. Hey, fighting! I don't know what's being said, but Blizzard World was won by Seoul Inferno against the Dynasty in that Game 5, playing a lot of dive, even some Hammond.
Yeah, a little bit of the rare Hammond. Hanbin on the defense here, one of the better-known heroes that Hanbin has in their wheelhouse, is for D.Va. Although, historically, Hanbin has been able to play anything. Back in the GOATS era, Hanbin was actually the Brigitte player for Element Mystic, back when they played Doomfist Sombra GOATS, which was certainly a unique approach. Fixer, using the pedal platform and then dragging Zest. That's enough fun for you. Get back to the Tracer. And Dallas Fuel finally going to have access to a little bit more healing via this Ana. But the question is, can Sparkle bring it to Zest? We know that Sparkle has been underrated on the Tracer for most of his career. A lot of people asking, when's Dallas Fuel going to get a Tracer player? Sparkle's like, I've been here all along, man. But Zest is certainly, as we saw from the stats beginning, no slouch on the time.
Mag jumps in. Already harassing Hanbin on the D.Va. This is an anti-Winston bully. As the D.Va can step in, micro missiles into the bubble. Surprising to see MN3 on the Sombra. He played a lot of Hanzo last time we saw him, but obviously knows that he would be a weakness against the double flanker dive that Fuel is known for. Hanbin demech, Sparkle removed, Zest on fire, and the hunt down for that last player as Seoul will cap the point.
This guy is simply chasing. The thing is, Hanbin didn't even get a chance to actually fight with Mag in that fight. Only doing 213 damage. Hanbin seemingly a little bit more preoccupied with trying to do a touch more peel for MCD or just holding an off angle so that Zest couldn't control it. But Zest is not averse to just trying to burst down tanks with the pulse pistols, which do a fair amount of damage to those larger hitboxes. A well-placed whip shot from Bliss will keep MN3 out of stealth for now, but thus far, Mag has been feeling fairly untouched from the Winston bully we were expecting from a D.Va.
And that's just the Seoul coordination. When your Winston lives, it's because everyone's on the same page. I never blame a Winston for dying first. It's usually everyone else's fault. At least that's what I say as a tank player. But Seoul have control of the cart, and they can draw the fight towards them, especially as MN3 gets in position for the EMP. Fuel don't have a clear counter with the rally not up yet. Fuel hold the high ground. Mag zones them into position. EMP from MN3 only hits MCD. Nano to Bliss for the sustain. Holds on to the rally. First blood for Dallas Fuel as their EMP only strikes Mag, who holds the primal for the perfect moment. Halfway to point B as Seoul sustain on.
Great pocketing from Bliss onto MCD. We saw a fully fledged dive with a Nano, Winston, EMP, and Zest all on top of MCD, and somehow this boy manages to live. It beggars belief, but Zest is still here, accumulating this pressure, making sure the cart does not roll back, and ensuring Dallas Fuel can't afford to lose another fight, or they will be losing control of B here on Blizzard World.
Good nade from MCD. You can't afford to lose Hanbin's mech. Now has the self-destruct, has a second chance at life. Primal Rage from Mag is getting burned down, though, and Fixa doesn't pop rally, not in range. Mag isolated himself into the right room. By the time supports got there, it was too little too late. And now there's no one to protect your backline, and Sparkle has found his way there. Pulse bomb splashes onto Skewed, and Seoul will just have to die for the cause.
MCD just need a touch of peel here. Someone does remain towards the back. I think it's MN3 just lurking around. And now Seoul Inferno, they are in the death trap of Blizzard B. Which is where Skewed and Fixer need to spend resources and time getting up to high ground, while MCD and Bliss can set up here to begin with and be relatively safe. Remember that Zest's mobility on the Tracer doesn't include much in the way of verticality. Has to take a long way round if they want to be a part of assassinating that backline of the Dallas Fuel.
Listen, taking a break. Waiting for the translocate. Nothing happening from that. Seoul, rally, EMP, Nano coming up. Fuel have theirs already, but no EMP. Really, that initiation from MN3 is what Seoul are depending on. Fuel have the high ground, Hanbin patrols. MCD playing so far back, wants to be out of range of that Sombra ultimate. MN3 unleashes it, doesn't hit MCD, holds the nano for Bliss if he needs it, just like last time. Less than 2 meters to go for Seoul as the rally pops from Fixa. 4 stuns, Bliss nanoed, pops the rally, helping Hanbin on the front lines, but barely holding on. Self-destruct though from Hanbin will zone off the card. He's allowed to get back into mech, and Seoul don't have a main tank anymore, so they can't really continue this push.
I love how Dallas Fuel playing with kind of layer cake defense. Like you said, you had Bliss as for second line of defense and MCD all the way at the back. And the nano onto the Brigitte is incredibly smart because Brigitte, after that, drops the shield and gets anti, kind of baits out that anti from Skew, knowing that they are going to be the primary target. But you don't drop your shield for that if you don't have the rally. Bliss knows that he can instantly get an extra 100 overhealth, which is not respective of the anti-heal, meaning that Seoul Inferno cannot convert that anti into a kill. And more vulnerable players like Hanbin, who wouldn't be able to be cleansed, are saved from the effects of that utility. So overall, excellent bait and switch from Dallas Fuel. Uh-oh, hello, MN3's all the way in the back.
Yeah, he was translocate hunting for Edison there. And this has happened 2 times. Nothing resulting. As Seoul begin the cart push as we have a Sombra versus Tracer battle. MN3 safe, his translocate hidden too, I guess. 1 minute left for Seoul, working up towards another EMP from MN3. Or Zest can hit a good pulse. It's off against the wall, and he fades into the shadows. Hanbin getting harassed from behind. Zest putting his focus into the tank. Hanbin getting healed by MCD at a distance. MN3 pulls the trigger on the EMP, hitting 2. As Dallas Fuel continue to anchor this card. Hanbin supported with the nano. He just will never die. Seoul are putting all their damage into this tank, and Hanbin anchors forever. 35 seconds as Seoul activate the rally, looking for the stun onto Hanbin. It's successful, and now this backline is exposed, and Zest will not be stopped.
But still, Dallas Fuel fighting on the car. MCD going down means a lack of healing overall. Hanbin's going to be so close, though. A big stick gets rid of Bliss. Zest has decided that it all belongs to me, baby. I'm taking the crown. I'm taking the throne. A quick reset there. The stranded spawn system is going to allow Hanbin to get out with their mech and their life. And Dallas Fuel going to have to batten down the hatches for the long hold here on Sea Lemon. But they've got a couple of tools to try and play with here. The EMP is going to really punish Skewed and Fixer if they do stack up. But Mag's quick swap over here onto the Zarya is interesting. This allows for a much better response to the EMP via the bubbles.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we've seen Mag Zarya before, but on a flatter side of the map, this will be to, I guess, pocket himself and try to win the tank duel solely, and maybe throw a bubble Zest in MN3's way, but it's up to Mag to support himself as the independent girl boss that he is. Seoul, EMP at the ready for MN3, and a few more seconds. Fuel getting pushed up against the wall. Above them, Hanbin drawing some attention. Zest on the high ground sends Hanbin back. Seoul are taking up a lot of space, not even needing any ultimates until now. 3-man EMP, Bliss gone. MCD waits for the nano. It'll have to be Hanbin, but how do you deal with Mag? He dominates this front line. Edison won't have the real estate to go bow and arrow as Mag nanos doesn't even need it. 25-second cap for the Seoul Inferno.
Oh, Hanbin swapped over onto the Ramatra, wasting valuable seconds thinking, hey, if I'm going to get nanoed here in a brawl, that my best option is to bring out the Nemesis form with the nano. Unfortunately, the time simply wasn't there. A proactive move from Mag with the nano boost was simply huge from the Seoul Inferno. And actually, one of the things that Seoul Inferno are doing super well to continually get themselves the advantage in these points, Zest just wants to beat them to death, by the way. A melee specialist Tracer, is that the EMP nade combos are so slick from this roster. We often see Bliss getting absolutely eviscerated, and that's one of the reasons why we saw Bliss try and bait out with the rally so many times, because realized that Seoul Inferno were playing this EMP nade combo that could only really be countered by getting that 100 additional extra overhealth straight away, but doesn't respect the anti-heal. But if you read that Bliss doesn't have the rally, then it's easy to get that EMP anti and just instantly dispatch the Brigitte.
Yeah, Fuel's biggest stop was at point B. They drew out a lot of time just playing so deep into their spawns and just nanoing Hanbin, nanoing Bliss, whatever it is to live, they did it. Inferno, they took the first point quickly. Point C, never saw a stop. Seoul, cap with 25 seconds. This is beatable by the Fuel. And they'll bring out the Hanbin Diva again. And Mag's not even going to roll out on the Zarya. You need to generate that ult charge. You know you need the dive for the point B high grounds. As Fuel will do some scouting initially.
Initial scouting, initial bullying. Sparkle, the conflux of 3 players. And the victim of all 3 as well. A quick sleep onto Mag, but there's no way for that actually to be followed up. And interestingly, Hanbin's actually exiting the first round with far less damage than Mag, about 20% less. And Mag should be taking a lot more damage from Hanbin, in my honest opinion. Hanbin's playing a lot more defensively on the Diva than we're used to, not doing too much to bully out the tank, and playing a lot more reactively to try and save instead of kill.
Yeah, Hanbin is just peeling for his team against the EMPs, against the dive, and just anchoring the cart when no one else from the Fuel really can. Sparkle's more focused on taking these Zest Tracer duels or dealing with MN3. So it's Hanbin versus Mag, who are just protecting their teams, taking space where they can. But you're right, Mag takes a lot more real estate, takes a lot more room. He jumps into the back. And it's Seoul still holding the point, waiting and looking at both sides of the road before they cross it. Mag is hacked, taking a lot of damage. Bubble forced out. Now that this cooldown is gone, Fuel might have an opening as Seoul feel unprotected. But almost an EMP from MN3, 40% quicker than Edison.
Alright, Hanbin here with the pocket, should be able to fight this for a while. There's the Nano coming through. The EMP only catches 1 as far as I'm aware, maybe 2. And Zest cleans them both up.
Great EMP, and this was at the same time that the Nano, probably the Nano popped a second earlier than the EMP, because I think if MCD, ooh, good pulse. MCD would have probably nanoed Bliss if he knew that was coming, but obviously didn't track that. 40% quicker than Edison. No one from Fuel saw an EMP coming that fight. As Fuel managed to come back through this thanks to the Sparkle damage. Starting that second tick, Seoul re-engaged with the rally, but they're hit by an Edison EMP. Fixa falls over. Skewed holds the Nano, despite Seoul maybe committing to that retake with a rally, not wanting to invest more. Seoul give it up.
And the thing that happens with the early rally right there, I pointed out earlier, I gave Seoul Inferno credit, I got to give Dallas Fuel credit too. The EMP anti-combo onto a Brigitte, Fixa gets absolutely mulched by the Dallas Fuel frontline. Eviscerated in but a moment. That 700 HP shield is no good if you can't get it out, Lemon. And now Hanbin's just going to try and control the turret. This gives over critical information as well when Hanbin's peeking up there to allow for Sparkle to set up to mark Zest, who needs to try and get in onto MCD, who's been free casting so much.
Yeah, Hanbin is spy checking, making sure no hacks from MN3 go off. So although his focus isn't on to Mag, it's denying the win conditions from Seoul, to deny that EMP generation from MN3. Hanbin is doing what he can to protect his little ducklings as they move the cart forward. Seoul, another EMP ready from MN3 shortly. A lot of sustain with the Nano and the Primal, as Sparkle goes to dislodge them off the high ground, but Mag engages right into them, setting up for the EMP, jumps away from the self-destructive Hanbin. Sparkle doesn't make a big enough splash.
No
the
way!
EMP from MN3 is cancelled!
No way. There's the Nano coming through onto Mag. Skewed feels like this needs to be rescued, and indeed it does. Hanbin, no stagger here. Honestly, this kind of fell out of control for Dallas Fuel because Hanbin did not eat a very obvious nade. I don't know if he was hacked or something to try and shut that down, but the play around the anti-nades for both of these teams has been so good. MN3 wishing they could have that EMP back now gives over a considerable advantage to Edison to try and set this up once again. But we're entering into the same issue that Seoul Inferno had on Blizzard B, which is creating a safe space for your supports to exist while threatening the other supports. And Hanbin, like we said, been playing more defensively. Wants to try and stay a little bit closer to this backline so that Mag can't bully them. And that means that Edison and Sparkle often have to go for Skewed and Fixa by themselves.
Dallas Fuel have the card in pretty deep. If this EMP is good, they could go all the way, but Edison gets slept. He's woken, he recalls. Seoul don't drop a single member because it was only a one-man EMP. only waited for MN3. Should have drawn Seoul out into the open as Fuel's win condition has gone by. But next, and plan B, is MCD's Nano onto Hanbin. They've also given it to Sparkle, I believe, for the point draw. Zest heads in, Pulse Bomb not ready, recalls before he's stunned. Or before he dies, of course, as Fuel hold the cart and generate progress. Only 90 seconds left, waiting for MCD to make the call as Seoul ready for the EMP. 4 hits! MCD Nano's Bliss isn't enough sustain. You lost the mech of your tank, but have you given up hope? Seoul invests more ultimates, only 2. Nano thrown into the picture. Mag is slept.
Beautifully.
I got all excited.
It was a beautifully executed short leap bow from Mag. Beautiful Winston tech to ensure that that Diva was instantly executed. Knowing that easy hits onto a tank were going to allow Hanbin to get that mech back. Just knocking his head on the doorway, giving himself a little concussy so that Hanbin would be taken out in short order and saving the primal crucially here, which is going to be very important for keeping this point contested. Hanbin, some early harassment from MN3 being pocketed through it means that you can try and play for even more ult charge and generate those EMPs faster. But when it comes to fast and furious EMP generation, Edison's got to be on your mind. 87%.
He got dove on and still lives. Dallas Fuel takes shelter from the storm and head to the high ground where Seoul live on. Dallas Fuel deny an EMP from MN3. They slept a Nano Winston, but Fuel down to the wire, last fight, or it's match point for Seoul. It's EMP for Edison, hits 2, Fixa. Immediate rally for Skewed. Mag holds the primal, sees Dallas Fuel in a small room, but wants to play his life. Fuel down to a few seconds. Sparkle with the critical pulse. Fuel needs to coordinate against Mag and burn him to the ground. Fuel hit by another EMP, only the supports, but MCD Bliss are gone, and Hanbin will have to self-destruct. Sparkle is clutching up though. He's killed 3 this fight. You only have a few more meters to go and it's overtime. 3 versus 2 for the Dallas Fuel. Fixa is boostioed. I can't believe my eyes, but Seoul have closer respawns. It's a sleep, it's a BM, and GG for game 2.
Hey, sometimes the only option is the best one. Fixa holds down the car, gets that nano 50% damage reduction, 50% more damage, and 100% dead members of the Dallas Fuel. Coming out of this one, some quick insight into the stats. MN3, 9.2k damage per 10 on the Sombra. Edison on the other side, 6.4. And that's MN3 having to negotiate around the defense matrix as well. So Mag must be getting a huge amount of value out of these bubbles in order to mitigate the overall damage coming through from Edison, or just maybe there's difference in focus here where MN3 is going after the tanks a little bit more compared to Edison, who might be going for the supports more. But hey, 3,000 more damage per 10 minutes means a lot more EMPs, Lemon.
Yeah, Sparkle is having a huge impact. Edison is losing the Sombra battle, hitting a couple 1-man, 2-man EMPs, and not drawing a significant fight advantage for the Dallas Fuel. We're doing a great job of countering ultimates, whether it's the MN3 EMP cancels, Sleeping Mag when he got nanoed. But Seoul have so many win conditions. You might stop 1 or 2, but Seoul have taken over this match. And Fuel, they defend well, like you said, but in terms of attacking, they kind of just live and don't do much attacking.
Yeah, Dallas Fuel, we used to know them as the team that always goes faster, 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 faster. But at the moment, the pace seems to have been allayed. Some speed bumps have been put in the ground, and the suspension simply is not taking the pressure. We're going to see if Dallas Fuel can try and recoup the legendary speed that they once had during this break.
When in doubt, Nano the Lucio. Wise words coming from the Seoul Inferno on Twitter after winning Blizzard World with a 25-second cap and a point B stop against the Dallas Fuel.
It was a masterclass, honestly, in Winston play. Mag was getting so much value, and you know what? Skew decides, hey, if I can boost still here and clutch up, then I'm going to be a legend. And hey, the legend has begun its genesis here on Blizzard World. We are on preset maps, of course, so that might not have been where Dallas Fuel wanted to go overall. We got a quick Zest sign here, and you know what? It's a good day to be a Zest fan. Zest has been absolutely pounding on the Tracer. It feels like at the moment, Sparkle and Edison have not been able to find the same impact as their cohorts. We're seeing about 50 to 40% more damage per 10 out of MN3 in the Sombra versus Sombra. And that's with Edison also being able to swap over onto a Hanzo for a little bit as well, Lemon. We're going up against Vazaya thinking, hey, I'm going to be a bit more safe from the Winston dives. I can afford to go over onto the Hanzo. Shambali Monastery is an entirely different approach where maybe we'll see Hanbin bring out that Ramatra. Maybe we could even see a Sigma. We don't have as much competitive data for these teams on this map.
Yeah, I feel like MN3 avoided a lot of Hanzo. I was surprised he even went to it at some point, considering out the gates you expect a lot of double flanker dive from Dallas Fuel, and then MN3 still felt he was safe enough to go Hanzo. So that says a lot about the respect of Dallas Fuel's dive. But we go to Shambali. And I have a lot of respect for the Seoul Inferno, who last time they went to Shambali was against the Seoul Dynasty, where Mag played the Sigma or the Ramatra, depending on which side. But the hilarious part is MN3 Bastion attack. I want to see it!
I wish to see it. I want this to be a banger game. We're all here in the WDG Esports studio in Seoul. We got the home crowd for Seoul Inferno. One sec. Are they fighting though, Lemon?
Let's go Fuel or let's go Infernals. We got fans in the crowd. That poor woman's vocal cords. I feel ya, bestie. Girly pop, we need some water. But it'll be a quick match though if it goes Soul's way. Right out the gates with some dive, but reassessing.
All right, Mag swapping over here onto Ramatra is a great choice for trying to deal with the Dallas Fuel if they want to play this close. Try and slow their disengage and play the cover that is provided. Sparkle's already dead. Oh no.
Good initial Maywall from Zest. Dallas Fuel. You don't usually see a spawn hold at this point. The first corner is so strong for the defense. You got a high ground for your ranged DPS, and Seoul swapped their Ramatra rush just like they did last time they were on Shambali, minus the MN3 on the Ashe. The better hero over the Bastion. I get it.
Dallas Fuel, though, they're going to make their own swap, and that's over to the Reaper. We didn't see this on Oasis for the control map, where Dallas Fuel were last exhibiting the Junker Queen rush, but this is going to allow them to have fairly equal frontline pressure onto Zest and Mag, and may force some disengages from Seoul Inferno, where previously it's just been rushing forward.
This Maywall from Zest is messing up Fuel. This is a pretty narrow part of the map. Strong for May and Fuel. Separated from the flock. Han been isolated. Fuel really haven't killed much. Just haven't been able to coordinate in just these tight quarters as Seoul head for point A.
That's enough, Reaper, says Sparkle. I'm going back to the Genji. I'm not sure if it's entirely the best choice. Trying to get onto MN3 obviously is going to be the play here for Dallas Fuel once again. But can you isolate this Ashe? And can you force out the coach gun prematurely, more importantly?
Yep, Matrix. Dallas Fuel pressured back, and the cap is there for Seoul. Hanbin, maybe we'll swap to something else, but so close to the Rampage, that'll be their next win condition, or the Kitsune Rush. But do you really want to drop down? Probably not. There is no good escape point from that. They'll wait for Seoul to get up this ramp. Kitsune Rush, but countered by the MN3 Bob. The gatekeeper at the staircase, and Fuel, they dropped to the Bob. They tried to run past it and ignore it, but you can't ignore the Bob.
The Bob don't miss. And MN3 is absolutely pounding right now. 14k damage per 10, by the way. Edison scraping 2.1 at the moment. It's been a slow day for Edison. Been unable to find any target. Seoul Inferno just so hard to isolate a duel on, and that's exactly what the Sombra wants, to find the weakest of the wildebeest in the herd. But Seoul Inferno are showing no weakness that can be exploited by Dallas Fuel. This needs to be a huge rampage, but it can easily be countered by Fixer Sound Barrier.
Fuel need a stop here. This would be big for their defense. It's a defensive heavy part, but annihilation from Mag. Soul pull the trigger. Bliss sound barriers, but it's too little too late. both your DPS ultimates, both your win conditions subtracted from the equation. And the result I'm seeing with this telescope is a fat L. Fuel have not had a single stop yet.
Lemon, wake me up when Dallas Fuel get into the lobby.
Alright, I'll wake you up in 30.
Oh no! Oh no! This is well, credit to Seoul Inferno. They are not making any mistakes that Dallas Fuel can exploit right now. They're not feeling any pressure, and they're not making any unforced errors as well. EMP ready to go from Edison. This could really be what turns this around. It's on 2.
Well, screw MN3 in particular. That was just aimed for him. Zez caught 2, able to ice block and wall himself away back to the hallway. Soul, what is this? I mean, you got the stats. I don't even want to know, actually, how many deaths Soul have. Their initiative is so much quicker. Yeah, okay, there it is. Their first death, y'all. Soul, they continue on around the corner, though. Sparkle up the wall, waits to dash through with his blade. Soul, try to place the slow right near him. Sparkle goes back to safety. 80 HP, just not getting anything done. Tries to draw out both the barrier and the blizzard, so maybe that ends up being valuable for Sparkle.
Unbin as well, finally swapping over onto Ramatra. Double damage dynamite coming through. That's really stressing the healers, and it stressed them too far. Hanbin breaks under the strain as Bliss is in the backline just doing Lucio things. Edison's gone to join him.
Well, that's a little goofy. Edison is killed too, I guess. Respawn advantage for Fuel, as that might be enough to slow down Soul. They head to the finish line. A Bob Annihilation is what's on the menu, as MN3 can also throw this on the card to create space and also get pressure on the objective. But Soul want to wait for everyone to get back first.
This is an incredibly difficult area to attack. There's definitely a reality where Dallas Fuel can hold this for 3+ minutes. The Dragon Strike ready to go. That could force out an early Immortality field here, and if the Immortality field is used, that means that Hanbin can get so much more aggressive with a Nemesis form and Annihilation.
Bob. Is he in the Dragon? He's in the Dragon. He's still shooting, though. He's got a lot of health, and so does Mag, with the Annihilation blocking away. But Sound bears so much sustain from the defense. They wait for Zest. Out of position behind the cart. Soul just don't have a good win condition without Zest. Mag doesn't have as much protection. And even through the 2 kills from Bob, Soul will have to do a lot more work, especially with the defensive respawns of the Fuel.
Yeah, good management of the Bob aggro as well from Dallas Fuel, even with the efficacy that it got. Hanbin managed to actually tank a huge amount of that using the block of the Nemesis form and the shield, just rotating those around while in the Monk form, in order to make sure that MN3 mostly had the Bob concentrating on the tank and less so on those squishies. Edison's got themselves a shooting gallery here, and of course, sometimes a fight can just be ended prematurely by a well-placed arrow. Edison's rolling those dice.
Ooh, Ant Matrix from MCD right down the lane, blocked by the Zest of Maywall, so Soul will wait that out. Even getting close to a lucky headshot there for Zest. Won't be the first blood yet. As around the corner, Hanbin overextends, pops the Annihilation, is in the backline. Kills skewed of all people. Zest throws the Blizzard to stop the follow-up, and only Hanbin is caught, and he can't be sped out. So 1-1 trade, I believe. Actually, Soul have lost 2, so they will wait.
This is what we wanted to see from Dallas to try and turn this series around. A little bit of proactivity. A little bit of run towards the Seoul Inferno. And don't let Seoul Inferno just go demon mode all over you. That's a Blizzard that's now not going to be available for point control, Lemon. And that card control is so important as you try and finish off Shambali Monastery. Obviously, a lot of damage has already been done in terms of distance gained. Sparkle forced to cower for a moment.
Oh, Blizzard! And the Maywall behind is skewed. Stay safe. Fixes unsure. Pops the sound barrier. As Soul, first and second blood, now hunting down Edison, who's just jumping in the middle of the fight instead of maybe trying to get back, but maybe thinking they can't stay safe. They stagger on the cart. 46 seconds for Soul.
Rolling out now. Dragon Strike will give a little bit of covering fire. It's going to give some obfuscation as well to allow Hanbin to move in somewhat unseen. Mag spamming away the pummels of the Nano V Annihilation too.
Oh, Annihilation, Hanbin. He's sustained by the sound barrier. Mag finished off. MN3's Bob will make up for his place. Soul 23 seconds. Only experienced their first deaths in point C. And MN3's in prime position for hunting season. That will be a full capture on Shambali for the Seoul Inferno on match point.
A much better bob from MN3 coming out mid-fight, which I think is the key to getting some bigger value out of these bobs, which is to make sure that Dallas Fuel can't do their pre-fight adjustments with Bob's location being a known factor. It coming out in the middle, so much more. MN3 deserving of the highlight reel, to be honest. It's been a big game from MN3. 9.7k damage done already. The next highest in the lobby is Hanbin, or rather it's Mag with 6.6. So MN3, no damage boost required, just the Ash aim, and this is the character that MN3 claimed on that legendary new Queen Street against Seoul Dynasty. The character that had him plant his flag in the Overwatch League and say, I have arrived. And Seoul Inferno, when they were rebuilding their team, they kept that belief in MN3 and Zest, thinking this is the duo that can do it for us. Thus far, that belief is paying dividends.
I really like Dallas Fuel's way that they counter or move around the Seoul Infernal ultimates. Whether it's the Blizzard, only Hanbin got frozen, the MN3 Bob got 2 kills, but Fuel did lose to that Bob on point B. They kind of got rolled point A, point B. We don't talk about that, though. Fixa countering Fuel with barriers, too. Just took a while for Seoul to get through point C, but a cap is difficult on this map, and it's a spawn hold by Seoul. Zest kind of foils their plan as Fuel approached the left side, trying to break the shield. Successful in doing so. Sonic will give some good information, and it's the headshot you found, the headshot you wanted. 5 to 3, Edison has found the hero he can shine on.
You know what? It's a much more civilized weapon, the bow and arrow, Lemon. We don't need those hackers here. We'll just do it old style. Edison carving through the Seoul Inferno and already halfway to a Dragon Strike. Seoul Inferno, though, they did manage to take away 30 seconds via the spawn hold, which is so important when you're going to be playing a time game towards the end here. You just want to try and make sure you drain as much time as possible before third point, which is so heavily defensible.
Yes, Seoul. That'll be their first fight loss. Off this spawn hold, that's difficult to do, but you do that to force as many fights as you can to draw time away. As Fuel now getting just shot at from different angles. MN3 says, kill me first, as he jumps into the Dallas Fuel. And Fuel, I mean, with this rush, they hit the left hook, the right hook, and good night. Fuel, back-to-back fights.
Truly MN3 volunteering his tribute for that one. But swap over to the Sojourn. Incredibly interesting here. You can obviously build up your railgun very easily against the Ramatra when he's blocking. You can build up the rail to be used on less defended members, and the shield uptime of the Ramatra is also a little bit lower than you'd see against a classic Reinhardt rush. MN3, if he can connect those headshots, could find some significant openings, especially keeping Edison well behind cover.
Third fight for point A. Zest throws the Blizzard down. Great speed call by Blizz. Dragon right through the lane. And Seoul barely get out with their lives in the Hanbin annihilation on top. 3K versus 2K. Who's the bigger man? Fuel head towards point A. And Seoul ain't got that dog in him. Fuel continue.
Good split there from Fuel as well. Sending all their squishies backwards, getting Mag on a wild goose chase, making sure that Hanbin could find some easy 1v1s with the annihilation onto the more squishy members of Seoul Inferno, and then control the cart, taking it out from underneath Mag's nose, even with a huge investment from the Seoul Inferno in that fight, which means that their ability to control this cave phase is going to be limited. I wouldn't mind seeing Sparkle use the Blizzard in the next fight early, simply just try and take out Mag and gain control of this area.
How about MN3 shoots you in the face? We'll try the Blizzard anyway. 4v5, Fuel throw it down. No one frozen from Seoul. They all hold on. Immortality. Soundbeer ready from Fixa. Goes around the wall. You won't protect yourself any longer, Sparkle. As Fuel get pounded into the dirt. Great shots by MN3. 2 in a row. Oh, 1v1 versus Edison. No! Mag, get out of the picture. I want to see this. Oh, Edison retreats.
MN3 playing a little bit of ego here on Hanzo is super important in these kind of pseudo-sniper versus pseudo-sniper battles. It's all about the mojo, all about feeling that confidence, and well-placed Dragon Strike here could be deadly. But,
kind of wasted.
They were very close to their immortality. Hanbin is isolated, but I don't think it's going to be pressured here. Dallas Fuel, they're kind of just getting toyed with a little bit at the moment. Seoul Inferno not giving them any respect, but that's what you need to do. Make sure that you can drain every single second.
Oh, well, they have Matrix. MCD's punished for that. Try to go in a forward position to get the best angle possible. Fuel doing everything they can to break out of spawn. Hanbin getting knocked out cold. As Seoul also just played this far forward because they have a speed disengage, and they've been so good at it. They lose one or two members along the way, so now making the call that the spawn hold is inviable, they'll play the range duel instead.
Yeah, I didn't think that I'd see the day when Dallas Fuel in a rush mirror were going to seem to not have the same clarity of vision as their opponents. Seoul Inferno, they are following the plan to a T right here. The disengage is fairly clean. Dallas Fuel really needs to force them to make mistakes, and Edison can be the one to do that by moving in.
Annihilation. Mag, good initiation. Hanbin says, bring it on. Pops his own. Immortality only saves Soul. Sound barrier available. And exchanged by Bliss as well. Fuel just hit with too much damage. At the end, Soul thrive. And it's less than 2 minutes for the Fuel.
This is such a difficult area to attack. I wouldn't mind seeing Dallas Fuel even play around the outside here, just so that the window up into the monasteric level of point C could be less well exploited by the Seoul Inferno. Keeping MN3 on that angle is consistently keeping Edison's attention over there as well. For now, Seoul Inferno don't give away any preliminary positions except for some weak poke from the turn here. And this
Dragon! They tried to catch him off guard. MN3 threw the Sonic down and tried to split up Fuel, but you didn't see a forward engagement from Soul, and Blizzard drone! Did it get canceled? I don't see one on the floor! Zest goofed up! Dallas Fuel counter with their own, and they're just better! Of course, with the frozen targets, it's easy pickings for Fuel. There's less than a minute to go. They got one more fight for point B.
Now, the disadvantage of getting everyone hiding in that cave due to the dragon was that everyone could also aim out of there solely onto Zest. Had Zest been hit by a few less shots, yes, it would have been an absolutely tumultuous blizzard that would destroy the Dallas Fuel. Now one fight likely
Sparkle!
remains.
Sparkle is isolated by the wall. Dallas Fuel have to back him up. They use the Amp Matrix and Hanbin's block as Soul. Okay, their MN3 is behind. They managed to climb over the wall. Can he hit a shot, though? That's a different question. Addison will give him a lesson. 2 first picks by Fuel before MN3 wakes up. But is the damage done already? The cap there for Fuel with 10 seconds left. They barely got any time, though. 90 seconds to push multiple fights of C.
Multiple fights indeed. Economy is the name of the game here for Dallas Fuel. They need to be able to win these fights economically. Big spends cannot be tolerated because Seoul Inferno will punish it when the spawn advantage is in their favor. And here on Shambali Monastery, that spawn advantage is brutal at the end of point C.
Dragon Strike from MN3, forcing back Fuel, not getting the isolation they wanted. Edison counters, catches a headshot into MN3. Edison now dipping in the Hanzo battle. Somber was a different story on Blizzard World. Hanbin wanting to rewrite this one. Annihilation. Great Maywall from Zest to protect himself. Hanbin gets around. Zest didn't run fast enough, though. Annihilation from Mag. Fix has to make a call on this barrier. Decides to hold it for the final fight, and I'll agree with that.
2 sound barriers held. MN3 on the Widowmaker. Now it would be a legendary turnaround. A Fletter-style headshot after headshot, potentially, but Hanbin's already noted the position. Surely no one overpeaks into MN3 here and offers up the headshot that so deliciously presents itself to the Seoul Inferno.
Oh, ice block out from Sparkle, looking for the early blizzard. 22 seconds. Sparkle pulls the trigger, so does Zest. No one can be around this cart, and that hurts the Fuel too. Frozen. Bliss, the barrier doesn't work out, and Fuel are hurting bad, and MN3 will give him a band-aid. Sparkle can't wall himself off, and Fuel against the Seoul Inferno will only get 1 map win in 3 matches, and not 1 against the Infernal.
We wondered if perhaps Seoul Inferno might have been slightly overhyped after decimating the Shanghai Dragons, because hey, it was only Shanghai at the time, but here against Dallas Fuel, The clarity of vision is crystal clear. The disengages are strong. The movements are precise. And the plan is being both well constructed and well followed. For a team that has been together nowhere near as long as the core of the Dallas Fuel, which is all about the DPS and the tanks being able to work together, Seoul Inferno are looking so much more clean.
MCD and somebody just hugged. I would need a hug too after that match. Dallas Fuel 0-3, 1-6 in map count, sitting in 5th seed out of 6 teams, right above Shanghai Dragons, who haven't won a map yet. Dallas Fuel, it was a lack of initiative, it was a lack of attacking. Defensively, they look superb, but Seoul putting on a masterclass of counters, swapping to Reinhardt on Oasis, showing them how it's done with the mag dive on Blizzard World, to the Ramatra duel that seemed a lot closer on Shambali, but nonetheless a 3-0 for the Infernal, who will probably climb up to either 3rd or 4th seed. We'll see how that tallies up, but a big win for Seoul.
Yeah, meanwhile on the Dallas Fuel side, 0-3. It's looking real dire. Dallas Fuel versus Shanghai Dragons certainly going to be an interesting matchup, and Seoul Inferno, for a newer franchise, a rebrand from the Philadelphia Fusion, it means so much to win in front of their home crowd here. Last time we went up against the Seoul Dynasty in the Seoul Bowl, they weren't able to win. Here's our player of the match, is going to be Skewed. Seemingly invulnerable at moments, Lemon. Incorporeal on the back line, but absolutely a huge difference maker, especially on Oasis. Being able to survive so long on the Baptiste meant that Hanbin's Junker Queen could not get any purchase.
And when Mag doesn't die, there's 2 people you can thank. It's Skewed and Fixa. And Skewed did a lot on the Ana to nano him, even moments nanoing DPS, but mostly Mag. And hitting some fun little sleeps too. Even maybe a Boostio, I guess we'll give him a trophy for that too, but I'm down. If a Boostio wins the match, boost me all the way. Skewed player of the match, played fantastic.
A win is a win, Lemon, and Skewed is coming out from under the shadow of Skewed, which is super important for this player. Skewed was always a flex support player, but really did have to settle into that Brigitte role for so long, with Shu just being obviously a Legends tier flex support who is critical to the overall plans of the LA Gladiators. Check out the timing on this nade as well. We highlighted this so often on Blizzard World because it simply needs to be pointed out how well Skewed and MN3 coordinated with each other in terms of timing to make sure the mitigation conditions for the nade were 0.
The Nano, again, helping Mag out in many situations. Being able to dodge Edison too a lot of those times. Skewed offensive nades, but also well-timed defensive nades. In this moment, is he? Oh, he actually sleeps Edison. Just all that trickle damage woke him up. So sleeps were deadly by Skewed as well. We go over to Shambali for the Immortalities. This fight in particular, this is what saved the Seoul Inferno on that point B push.
Yeah, great accuracy, long range with the Bath as well. Just multitasking with the best of them. That's so important. Having that mental bandwidth, and it seems like taking a big part in that fight planning as well. I believe there's an interview going on, of course, in the studio, but I don't speak Korean, so unfortunately I can't live translate that.
Yeah, so that'll give the win to Seoul, who will go 2-1, and we'll figure out how far up that jumps them up. But a 3-0 win at that will help their map differential. Remember that seeding is so important in the qualifiers because the top-seeded OWL teams will get a bye in the first round. Of course, the knockout rules will be released soon, so you guys can know, of course, who's facing who and whatnot. But the Dallas Fuel, I mean, kind of a funny tweet coming out from Seoul on Twitter of "Welcome to Korea, Dallas Fuel," and posting the match results. Kind of mean, but it is weird to see Dallas Fuel not in their prime, and maybe that's because, I mean, Hanbin has to pick up the Fearless mantle, playing both main tank and off tank.
Yeah, Fearless has always been a huge part of the former Element Mystic roster as like a huge engagement leader. Hanbin, we know, is a smart player who's played a bunch of different roles. As I pointed out earlier, during GOATs, Hanbin was actually their Brig player, while before that, obviously, was playing a lot more of the off-tank. And while we do expect huge things out of Hanbin. He was my particular MVP candidate last year after that performance during the Jotes meta. It does feel like Chio and Fielder, they left a huge hole behind. They were so important to the overall efficacy of this, like Chio being an absolute monster on the Lucio gave so much credence to Hanbin just being able to in and get out alive. Fielder so consistent as a healer. We've seen the dividends that's been paid as well over to the Atlanta Reign, and that means that Russia's got so much on his plate to try and bring MN3 and Bliss, or rather MCD, pardon me, and Bliss up to that level. But on the other side, Mag, kind of the opposite of Fearless. A main tank player, yes, but when it comes to results in the Overwatch League, uninspiring thus far. This year, this is where it turns around for Mag. He came into this league, Lemon, off of the back of a dominant runaway. A runaway that we all look to as being the talent farm. That was O2 Blast, Element Mystic, Runaway. This is where all the big players came from. This is where the big bucks were spent when we had the buyout fights. We were like, who's going to buy Sparkle? Who's willing to put up the money to make this happen? The same thing happened for Mag. And he got onto Washington Justice on a team that should have decimated with Fury as his off-tank. And that roster, it flopped. Was it the back line, the back room? Was it the back line? Was it other extraneous factors? We don't know. But Mag just did not perform up to the potential that we knew that he had and that we believed that he could live up to. Here on Seoul Inferno, though, Mag seems to have a support structure that he needs, and he's expanded his hero pool to the point where Mag could be the carry tank.
Absolutely, and it's feeling like Zest and MN3 can coordinate a lot better than Mag in comparison to Belosaria. Obviously, Seoul Inferno right out the gates looks stronger than the Philadelphia Fusion version, but obviously more to this roster than before. As Dallas Fuel, a similar roster, but not one that's winning, at least on the Eastern region. But this is just the start of the season. It's only the first 3 matches, so Dallas Fuel fans, hold on to your merch. Don't burn it yet. There's still more fuel in the tank for the upcoming matches. It's going to be a long season. Up next, we have more matches around the corner. What do we have on the menu? The Seoul Dynasty versus the Guangzhou Charge, third seed versus second seed. Both have only played 1 match and are undefeated. We're going to throw it to a break. When we get back, we'll have that match ready.